typically a little slower. So it really just depends on what you discover throughout the program in your career and what you feel drawn to do. I can't really tell you what to do. It's sort of something you figure out for yourself.
Wonderful. Thanks, Julie. Looks like it says unknown. I don't know their name, but they do have a question. They said, I have all my prereqs done and I have a 3.1 GPA. They've applied to a few schools this semester, but struggling to get in the RN program. Does anybody have any advice?
I could possibly chime in on that. And this is only for Chaffey College. So amongst teaching and directing the program, I'm also a faculty advisor. So one of our goals is to help students connect with programs and professors or instructors. And so it might be a good opportunity to check with the program director to see if they have office hours in which you can chat with them to see about how to strengthen your application. And so maybe I don't know what their recommendations would be if it's, volunteering gets you additional points, or getting a higher score on a particular test that you have to take, or retaking some courses to improve your GPA. But I feel like going to that department and finding out what it is that you can do to improve your application and improve your chances is probably one of the routes that you could potentially take.
I would just say also apply to multiple schools. Chaffey, Crafton, Loma Linda, Cal Baptist, Mount Sac. If you venture down into Orange County or LA County, there's other rad tech schools down there. Just don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you may not get accepted to Chaffey or Crafton in the first couple times you try, just because the competition is so high. But other schools take more students, and so it kind of improves your chances. I wouldn't just apply to one place.
That is great advice. Thank you both, Tanya and Julie. Let's see, we have another question that says, what are the prereqs for rad tech?
Well, I should know this because I've worked there for 4 years, but every time somebody asks me that question, I refer them to the Chaffey Rad Tech website. The counseling department has put together an amazing webpage. It's got several drop-down menus. Every question you might ever have is answered there. There's a degree map for prerequisites and what classes you would take if accepted into the program. It goes through the application process. There's information about information sessions offered through counseling. It's really just a wealth of information. And if you just go on the Chaffey College website and look and search Rad Tech, our page will pop up.
Great. Next question says, what are some things that can be done before college to figuring out if pursuing a career as like a doctor or a practitioner, pediatrics, or maybe just general like health is something that they'd like to do?
I can answer that.
Thank you, Daniel.
I think volunteering is probably one of the best things that they can do to get exposure to whatever setting they're thinking they might be interested in. So a lot of the hospitals have opened back up now that, changes are happening surrounding COVID, and spending that time will help you in the hospital setting, will make you will make it more clear whether or not that's the right place for you. You're going to get lots of smells, lots of encounters, lots of just different types of things that you need to be aware of before you commit to any of these programs, right? All of our programs require a significant amount of your time and effort. And in preparation for that, that's probably one of the best things that you can do. John, what about for field service? Is there a way to volunteer or get exposure outside of hospital?
Yeah, I mean, so there's volunteer programs that private ambulance companies have volunteers. There's Morongo Basin Ambulance up in Joshua Tree. I think they had a volunteer program. You can be an explorer or a volunteer at a fire department. All those things will kind of get you to kind of see what that line of work is. We even encourage people to join the EMT program. It's a single semester, 1 day a week. Become an EMT after a semester, start working next to doctors, next to nurses, with patients, and start getting exposed that way, and kind of get a feel like, is this really the line of work for you? Because some people will go do full-on med school and then maybe not even touch a patient until they're 6 years in, and then they decide, wow, this sucks. I really hate this. And now they wasted all that time and money. So at least, with the EMT, they can get in there, start working, and then decide, hey, maybe I do like nursing because I've seen these nurses work. Maybe I do like, rad tech. Maybe I want to go paramedic. Maybe I want to go respiratory. Like, you have all these options for just a small amount of time and money and effort.
Thank you. Those are all very good points. We have a question that says, what pre-med and health clubs are available, specifically at Chafee, where I attend, I think that's where they're planning on attending. Do we have any health clubs going on?
Yes, I know nursing does have an actual club, but I don't know if you have to be in the nursing program to be a part of that particular club. I know currently we're working on some curriculum to put together for students that are interested in the health sciences field, but they don't know exactly what they want to go into. So it'll be a little bit of rad tech, a little bit of dental, nursing, LVN, CNA, healthcare workers, public health, maybe a little bit of a part of that as well, and then some medical terminology. So I think that curriculum will be rolling out next year. But as far as clubs, I don't know specifically all the clubs, but as you guys are continuing to talk, I'll look up on the website to see if there are any clubs that are related to the medical field.
Thank you. And John, I do see you answered the question about the company that accepts volunteers, and you said that's how you got started. Would you be able to tell us maybe a little bit about how you started, or maybe some aha moments that made you decide this was what I'd like to do as a to go on as a paramedic?
Yeah, I stumbled. I really struggled and stumbled through into the profession. When was told, hey, I want you to be a firefighter. I'm like, okay, well, how do I be a firefighter? Went to the fire station. This says you have to be an EMT. I'm like, what's an EMT? There was no Google. I didn't know what the hell it was. And I says, all right, let me find an EMT class. All right, here's the EMT class. Okay, this is what an EMT is. I'm like, oh, okay. But as soon as I got into it and actually started running calls and started working, that's when I found the passion for it. There was absolutely no money in it. It was all about just the experience, the patient care, the relationship building, just taking somebody who's, at the rock bottom and building them up during that small amount of time that I have with them. And that the value in that was priceless. But yeah, so I went to EMT and, decided, I don't want to be a driver anymore. Let me see what else is out there. And I looked into it and become a paramedic. And then from there, I was looking into going the PA route, because that's kind of the natural progression where a paramedic wants to either go nursing or PA. And so as I was working through that, then I kind of stumbled into the teaching aspect and found that I love teaching more than anything, and decided, kind of ventured into finishing school and been here full time since. So it's kind of like a trial and error. Just stumbled into a lot of it. It wasn't really even it wasn't an early passion for me in high school. I had no idea until I was into my mid-20s that this was my line of work. So
Beautiful. That's wonderful to hear. So we have another question. Are there any barriers in the rad tech job that would not make you not be able to work in a hospital? Maybe if you have like a felony from a long time ago, maybe about 20 years, would that be a barrier?
So I imagine with any professional healthcare license, there are maybe some barriers like that, because they have to do a background check if you're going to be working with patients. Radiology in particular, If you're curious and you just want to know if it matters before you even invest a penny, you can go on arrt.org. That stands for American Registry of Radiologic Technologists. They're the agency that administers our licensure. And you can do an ethics review. You can submit paperwork that you think, court documents. They will do an ethics review and they'll let you know if it's a yay or nay. Like if they'll say, yes, this, was long enough ago, or it's been expunged, or, whatever. And that they will give you an answer and they'll say, yes, you're cool to start a rad tech program, or they're going to tell you, unfortunately, that is a big barrier that you cannot overcome. So arrt.org, and you can get that answer, ethics review.
That is great information. And I also see Tanya put a link for the clubs. So for anyone who is interested in the clubs at Chafee and Crafton Hills, I don't know if you guys happen to have a link, feel free to put that in there as well. So that concludes our first breakout session. So thank you all for coming. If you guys do have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We want to make sure we get to everybody. Feel free. This is the end of the first session. So thank you all. We'll go ahead and get started in just a few more minutes. All right, you guys, we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Jackie. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm a job developer for Chaffey College. I want to give a huge thank you for selecting the health industry for your session breakout number 2. We have a lot of really great experts that are going to be able to give their perspective, answer any questions that you have, and ensure that we get everything answered. So feel free. I'd like to encourage everybody to go ahead and drop their questions in the chat, and we'll go ahead and introduce all of our experts to each of you. And we'll go ahead and get started with John Ground.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Grounds. I'm a paramedic, been working in the field for about 15 years. I'm also, I teach for the paramedic program, the EMT program, and then I oversee the Fire Academy and Fire Sciences as well. Been worked for the college since 2016 and loved every minute of it.
Beautiful. Thank you, John. And Miss Julie, can you go next?
Sure. My name's Julie Leahy. I'm with the radiology program at Chaffey College. I've been there since 2019. Prior to that, I worked at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. I've been a rad tech for almost 40 years, getting ready to retire at the end of July. And yeah, just happy to be here.
Thank you, Julie. And Tanya?
Hi, my name is Tanya Cusick, and I'm a registered dental assistant. I'm the program director here at Chaffey College, and I'm also the faculty advisor for health, wellness, and athletics. And I've been in the dental field for 30 years and teaching for about 16. So thank you and welcome for, thank you for being here and welcome.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any specific questions? If you'd like to take yourself off mute, feel free. You can also drop in the chat maybe which fields that you are currently interested in or pursuing. But we can go ahead and maybe see how much are these jobs starting out. Maybe John, would you like to tell us a little bit about the starting pay for a paramedic?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it all depends on where you work as a paramedic. If you want to go private ambulance, you can looking at maybe, $30, $40 an hour. If you become a firefighter and a paramedic, you're looking well over 100 grand a year in some places. But we got paramedics that work anywhere. You can work on a cruise ship, you work at music events, you can work at sporting events, you can get licensed and work overseas in like Dubai and Saudi Arabia, making probably about $250,000 a year for that 1-year contract. And so it all depends on where you want to go. The main 2 jobs is either private ambulance or fire department. And so you're probably looking at between $80,000 and $100,000 a year for roughly about 3 or 4 days a week worth of work.
Yeah, not too bad, huh? Perfect. And how about Julie? What about starting off as a rad tech? What is the starting pay, would you say?
Full-time, obviously less wage per hour because you have paid time off and health benefits. If you go what we call per diem or a contract, like a part-time job, you can usually make more dollars per hour. But then, if you go on vacation, it's an unpaid vacation. Right out of school, depending on where you work, if you're at a community hospital versus a trauma center, if you're in a rural area versus an urban area, the pay's all over the place. But I would say in our Inland Empire, you can make somewhere between $30 and $50 an hour right out of school. Part-time, full-time, it really, there's just a big range. And then if you specialize, get additional education in another modality like CT or MRI, those are usually considered special procedure techs, and their wage is generally a little bit higher. Plus there's also a need for being on call, which brings in additional money because obviously they pay you to come back, and it's usually time and a half over 40 hours a week.
Thanks, Julie. And how about Tanya? What are some of the starting pays locally or any other opportunities available?
So our wages vary from county to county, sometimes even city to city. LA County makes a little bit more than San Bernardino. And Orange County makes a little bit more than maybe LA County. But starting out as a DA with no additional education, you're starting at about $19 an hour. Once you start adding your license and additional permits, whether you become an EF or you get your OAP, which is your orthodontic permit, and EF stands for extended functions, you're looking at anywhere from $28 to $32 an hour. And so once you finish your testing as an RDA, that yields about $21 to $25 an hour, just depending on your skill level, what you can do in the office, and how much you're able to help the office to grow.
Wonderful, thank you. That's all good information. Let's see. And then maybe if we want to talk about some of the programs that are available, I think maybe there was a link. No link, but Tanya, you had mentioned some of the programs that were available. Can you go ahead and highlight some of those at Chafee? And then maybe John, if you can go ahead and go next after Tanya.
Sure. So some of the benefits to coming to Chafee is I feel that we, our students are well supported. And I'm sure that's like at most schools. So we have different clubs, financial aid. We have EOPS, which is a funding source for students if you qualify to be able to get additional financial assistance. We have the Student Health Center with mental health representatives who are able to help out in those particular areas. If you need vaccines, the Student Health Center is able to do that. We have Panther Cares, which is a program where students can go for weekly food, like a food pantry and toiletries. If there are emergency situations that come up, there are usually grants and scholarships that students can be supported on. We had book grants. Not to mention during the pandemic when students didn't have Wi-Fi, we were giving out hotspots in addition to laptops to use. So Chafee is really good at trying to meet the needs of our students and meet them where they're at. So if there is a need, chances are we can find a solution for that particular need.
Thank you,
I would say,
Tanya.
when it comes to programs and stuff, I mean, we kind of mirror Chafee, we mirror every other, college where we have, programs to help for food insecurity, housing insecurity, financial aid. We tap into all those various funding sources to assist students with, tuition and books and, Chromebooks and hotspots. And, we have a, nice tutoring center, learning resource center. We have, a vast group of counselors and accessibility services and so on. The one thing that is going to be new, and we're actually in the works to establish a plot and break ground on, is a housing, on-campus housing. And so for those who want to live on the Crafton campus, they're going to have a dorm for those students. And so that's something that we're really looking into and starting the paperwork on, which I think would be a nice step up from, it's apart from most colleges.
Thank you for sharing that. We have a question in the chat. It says, how many years of med school is required after getting your bachelor's degree in order to become a doctor? Second part to that is also, while earning your bachelor's degree, are there any specific courses that are needed to prepare yourself, or can you just kind of study whichever you'd like? Anybody want to answer that one?
Yeah, I was actually going to type it in the chat. I think, every college, every university is all about pathways, and I mean, we don't want our students wasting time taking nonsense courses that aren't going to get them anywhere. So I was going to say to Emily is that, go to a university that has a med school like UCR or, any other university that has a med school, and talk to the counselors and say, hey, I want to be a doctor. What do I need to do? And I'm sure they have a pathway for that particular profession, and they'd be able to kind of line you up with, whatever you need. It may not be the exact same course that their university offers, but it's the same type of course that you might be able to find at any type of university. So I think that'd be the best way to go.
Anything in healthcare is very, has very science-based. So I would say like, but biology, chemistry, anything, if you start out that way, students usually find their way. They meet somebody who tells them, enlightens them about something they've never heard of. I found out that, I hadn't even considered X-ray tech, and my chemistry partner, lab partner in college was an X-ray tech. And we were paired up for a lab experiment, and he was telling me about what he did. He was actually in school to go back to dentistry. He wanted to be a dentist. And, I thought, X-ray, that's kind of interesting. And then I shadowed him at his workplace for a few visits, and I thought, I really like this. So, with the internet, career exploration is really at the tip of your fingers, right? And you can probably find out unique requirements for the college or university that you want to attend, or the career path that you want to take. And then the counseling departments at any of our campuses, they have a wealth of information. So they'd really be able to help you on, design a degree plan or a career path based on what your interests are.
Yeah, we have a pathways committee at our campus, and what we do is the pathway committee will go to a particular, just say, okay, for paramedics, what courses would you want that paramedic to take, or that student to take, and then give the reason why, right? So it's like, hey, if you want to be a lawyer, this theater course you can take, and take this because of X, Y, and Z would benefit you in this profession. So, not only will they tell you what course to take, but they'll tell you the rationale and explain how it would benefit you, when it comes to your moving forward in that profession. So definitely counseling department is probably the best resource.
I'd like to add one thing, and because I see this in dentistry as far as going to dental schools, and we've been at Loma Linda, and they do a really good job of doing information sessions and orientations with students. They have a full day dedicated to allowing students to explore the campus for medical school and dental school. And it's a big performance that happens on a Sunday. And that's a great way to learn about what are requirements. They also have students that are currently in the program that will answer questions for you as far as what courses to take, in addition to what their pathway was like. And once again, this is for all programs at Loma Linda, not just dentistry, but medical, pharmacology. I think they even have EMT and other things too, as well.
Would that include laboratory as well?
You mean like lab technician?
Yes. Sorry, was I supposed to put that in chat? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm not positive if they have over 300 different schools at Loma Linda, and I'm not sure if laboratory technician is one. And if you're talking about dental lab tech, or what kind of lab tech are you talking about?
Just laboratory technician, like physical science.
I don't know any programs. Julie, are you aware, or John?
I know at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, they had lab internships, not like blood draws, but like working in the laboratory, like looking at specimens under a microscope, running,
Yeah, that's
that
what
kind
I'm
of stuff.
looking for.
And I think they went to a school, not sure where it was, but then once they finished that, they came to the medical center to do their internship. But I'm not sure what school they were from.
Do you know how I can get to more information on that?
I know it's a bachelor's degree program and we're from a community college. So yeah, none of us, I think, are really.
It looks like John put something in the chat for you.
I Googled it.
Yeah, good. That's perfect. And then the other thing too is meeting with counselors. But even when you meet with counselors, sometimes it's nice to kind of have a little bit of a history of what it is you're looking for and what you're interested in doing, so that they're not having to, dig and research as well. So kind of coming in there with some information already at your fingertips would be great.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thanks, John. You were quick with the link.
I was curious.
Yeah. And I do want to encourage everyone, you don't need to put it in the chat. So feel free to take yourself off mute if there's just something that you really want to get answered or just curious about. And like I said, we have these experts here for you. So I just want to encourage you all to ask any questions.
I have one.
Yeah, Emily, go for it.
So I am currently in high school, and I did check with a local hospital that my hospital actually to see if they allowed volunteers. And because of COVID, there's still restrictions and stuff. And I think either I had to be over 18 or they just weren't doing it anymore. So do you have any suggestions for volunteer opportunities or ways I could prepare myself to see if being a doctor is something I would want to do? Like either hospitals that take volunteers under 18 or just other things I could do.
Where are you living at?
I'm in Riverside.
Okay. I mean, and which hospital did you try?
Kaiser Permanente.
Kaiser, yeah. So I would say if you're going to try that way, go to maybe a county public hospital. So like Riverside County and Marina Valley. Then also maybe go to your teaching hospital. So Loma Linda, they might have some programs that would be, help you out as far as kind of get your foot in the door that way.
The pandemic changed a lot of things. I know Arrowhead Regional Medical Center in Colton took volunteers. You could be still in high school and volunteer there. I know St. Bernardine's in San Bernardino, they used to take volunteers. I'm not sure what's fully come back after the pandemic. You just kind of have to make those calls and find out who's still offering that service.
Okay. Thank you.
Nice job on exploring early.
Yes.
Thanks.
Great question, Emily. Thank you for asking that. That's always important. Let's see. Maybe can you guys tell them any barriers that you experience maybe while going to school, or just some things that they can consider and be on the lookout. We can start with Tanya.
Oh, wow. So probably one of the barriers that I think I experienced while going to school was just the need to work and also go to school full time. So back when I was taking a program similar to ours, the program was 2 years and is an associate's degree program. So I was doing 18 units per semester, fall, summer, and spring. And so that was a lot in addition to trying to work. So that was a bit of a challenge. So I think one of the things that you have to be very mindful of is when you start your education, and this is if you're doing healthcare, it's going to be a full-time commitment. And so making sure that you have all the resources in line to support you, whether it's childcare, whether it's working, whether it's scholarships, loans, you're going to need all your friends and family in your corner to help get you through your education, because it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And it's going to take a lot of time and commitment on your behalf. So those are the only things I can think of. And I will tell you that those barriers that I had are the same barriers that my students are facing now too. So I'm very sympathetic and empathetic to them. And we try to come up with strategies to make sure that they're prepared. Like they know next week is going to be a heavier workload than the week before that. And how do I prepare? How do I, give myself a break or, manage my time. And it's a moving target every week.
Time management's a big thing. I know with our incoming radiology students every year, I have them do a time management grid. Tell me now exactly, map out how your typical day is. I get up at 8 o'clock, then I do this, then I go to work, and you map it out. And then once we tell you what the workload's going to be, redo that time management grid, factoring in how much time you're going to spend in class, studying, writing papers, and you find out what you can cut, right? Maybe instead of going to the gym every day, you go 3 times a week. Maybe you go look for childcare. If you have a child and you've actually been able to handle all of that yourself, investigate how much childcare is going to cost so that you'll be prepared for that expense, or reach out to your friends and family and see who's able to help you with what thing. Something came up in the last session also. A barrier to most healthcare fields is prior felony convictions. So if you have something like that in your past, I know the ARRT, which stands for American Registry of Radiologic Technologists, you can go on to arrt.org and submit your court documents and have an ethics review done, and they will tell you right then or after their review if this is something you can pursue or if it's just off limits. So, I mean, yes, there's going to be barriers. I have barriers every day. You wake up and the washing machine doesn't work or your alarm didn't go off. I mean, you have to just be able to go with the flow and not, just stay positive, just put your head down, push through. It's so worth it. Anything in healthcare, it's a very stable job. I mentioned before too that, where the pandemic closed a lot of businesses and many, many, many people lost their employment, people in healthcare were getting overtime. So it's very stable. I would encourage anybody considering it to really explore anything in healthcare because it's all great. It's all great. It gives you a livable wage, and you're of service to your community. So healthcare is an awesome profession.
Yeah, one of the barriers that I see, especially with my students, I get a lot of EMT students and right out of high school, and the biggest barrier they have is they don't know how to learn. They don't know how to study. They don't know how to take tests. They have this false sense of security, like, oh, I smashed all my high school courses, and oh, I took a couple college courses. I wrote pretty good papers. When it comes to the sciences, when it comes to healthcare type courses, where it's all about rote memorization and dissecting questions and being able to cram so much information in such a short amount of time, that just overwhelms them. You tell them, yeah, you have to study 30 hours a week. Well, they don't know what that 30 hours a week looks like. They're like, well, I had the book open for 10 hours today. I should have memorized all of it. No, it doesn't work that way. There has to be a system in place. And so I have 1 semester course. I spend half of that semester just teaching my students how to learn. And then once they crack that code, then they can hit and kill at every single science course because they have those tools in place. And I have some students that have to come back a second time, and the second time they take those tools that they learned and then run away with it. So just like knowing how to have a good system in place when it comes to studying and test taking and time management. So that's the biggest barrier I feel.
Thank you all. Yeah, there's so much to consider and so many things that can happen. So it's always important to be on the lookout for things that can happen. And there's so many reasons why you can end up stopping school, but you definitely need to pursue on as long as you plan ahead. I think that'll bring you a lot of success. Does anybody have any other questions at this time? I know we heard from Mihi and Emily. Don't be shy. You can also drop it in the chat.
I have a question. My question's for Julie. So this ethics committee, is there a charge for having them review your information?
There probably is, but I think it's pretty minimal. At maybe $30 to $50 or something like that. And you can learn about what the requirements are to submit an ethics review. And then, you know, you could probably even call and talk to somebody on the phone about it, and they would tell you exactly what they need you to send them. I would recommend it doing sooner than later, especially if you've got this hanging in your past and you're lucky enough to apply and get accepted to one of these programs. I mean, I'm only familiar with RadTech, but if you apply and you get in and you start your studying and you love it, and then you decide to do that ethics review, they might tell you like, no, this is a hard no. There's no way that you'll qualify to sit for your boards. It'd be nice to know that before you invested the time and money.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what would be a good mentor? Where would you guys say would be like maybe a good place to find a mentor to maybe just pick their brain and just kind of mirror some of the things that they could do, especially somebody so young wanting to get into the field? Anybody, if anybody thinks of something.
That's a good question. I think sometimes in the past, I feel like people have been mentors for me and maybe didn't know that they were mentors for me. And then there has been those conversations where they knew that they were trying to help develop some skills that I needed developing. So I think when you're exploring, if you know that there's a teacher that teaches RadTech or teaches something that you want to do, being able to do some advising with that particular instructor. And then once you have that one-on-one meeting, you can determine if that person you feel like is someone that you want to meet with again to help you with your path. And sometimes it's like there's an instant connection, and other times you're like, oh, I don't know, this might have been too intense, or maybe you're not ready for all the information that's being given at that time. So it really is about exploring and knowing what teachers do. So that's one of the things that most colleges might have is a website with the names of instructors and what they do. And then you can find out if you're able to connect with them via email or through an advising session during their office hours.
Yeah, I'd say someone currently in the field, currently working, and maybe in a position of management and power that they may be able to, these are the types of people that I would hire. This is what I would want them to do. And they can kind of groom you into that role. I think that'd be the best resource for you versus, Googling and on the internet and finding somebody that maybe just has outdated or wrong information, and you end up just wasting your time.
Thank you. Those are all really good points. How much time would you say that you'll need to put aside for school? Like, how long are the programs in general? And maybe how much time did it consume during your day? Maybe Julie, if you'd like to answer.
For RadTech, a typical first semester would be 2 3-hour lectures on Monday, 2 3-hour labs on Tuesday, a morning class on Wednesday, either a morning or an afternoon lab on Thursday, and you're at a clinical site on Friday. So you're doing something 5 days a week, upwards of anywhere from 3 to 6 hours a day. And then on top of that, you're studying, because there's quizzes just about every week. There's assignments, there's, lab performance to prepare for. It's literally a full-time program.
Yeah, for our EMT program, which is the entry level, they're in class, 1 day a week for 8 hours. They're taking in total 11.5 units because there are 6 other courses that they take. concurrently with the main course. So I'd say, you have to commit one day a week. For me, my class is Monday, so my students are with me every Monday, and then they're doing all the other stuff online at home. And so roughly it's probably about 20 to 30 hours of studying and preparing and stuff. And when it comes to the paramedic program, which is a little more intense, it's a 36 unit program. 24 of those units are taken in a single semester. So they have 6 classes that they're taking concurrently, and they're in class 3 to 4 days a week from 9 to 6. And then that's usually the big brunt of it. And then the rest of their time, they do 160 hours in the clinical sites, and then they do 600 hours out in the field doing an internship working as a paramedic. So all in all, it's a whole year program, but all the book work is done within one semester. So it's a task. We're coming up to finals, and I've got students knocking them off the door, just crying and, regretting their life choices because they don't know what they got themselves into.
So I would say similarly, our program is full-time, 16 and a half units. We're probably on campus for about 30 to 32 hours a week. And the schedule is it varies from day to day, depending on if you're a part of the green group or the blue group. We do colors. And there are a couple of late nights just because we are doing radiology, and we have to see patients and do radiographs on 4 patients. And so we're wanting to make room and time available for patients who can't come in the middle of the day to have this procedure done. Typically, our rule of thumb is that for every unit that you're taking, anticipate that there's about 1 hour of homework for each of those units. So that makes things, you're here 30 hours, and then now you have 16 to 20 hours of homework and reading to do, and assignments, and then prepping for any assessments that we have that are coming up in lab. And then lastly is our program is about 1,000 hours, and 306 of those hours are in clinical sites where you go through multiple rotations. One is at Loma Linda, where you're there once a week for 8 hours, and you're on the clinical floor with student dentists, and you are actually having the opportunity to work alongside the student dentist, and sometimes the hygienists that are either in training or just seeing patients. So that makes it nice because there's a lot of students who are interested in continuing their careers, and they're getting an opportunity to look firsthand what it looks like to be a dental student or a hygienist in that setting. So it's really kind of cool.
Wow, thank you all. That was all really great responses. And we are going to our last couple of minutes. So if you guys do have any things that just came to your mind, feel free. Like I said, you can put them in the chat, or you can go off mute. Maybe we can end it with what is your favorite part about what you all do? Maybe John, if you'd like to start.
For me, I mean, my role right now is more of an education role, and so I always love the aha moments. I love watching the students when it clicks and their brains just start spinning and on this different level. I'm able to take a very complex subject and try to break it down to its simplest component, and then they're able to take that simplest component and then build back to its complexity, and being able to do that, that's what drives me. That's the passion I get. That's when I'm reading papers and I'm seeing the students and seeing their thought processes and the mindset, and I'm able to kind of take them from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and they didn't even know that was even possible, and so that's what does it for me.
When I first got into X-ray, it was definitely to help people, serve my community. I went to school and worked at a county hospital when I first started out. And knowing that what I did significantly contributed to a patient's good outcome. We diagnosed the problem and they were able to be treated appropriately because we got good images. So it's really just about helping people. That's That was the best. And now I help students, but it's still the same reward. You know, being of service to your community it's what inspired me to get into healthcare in the first place.
Wonderful. And Tanya?
I would say probably when I started in dentistry, this was not something I thought I would be doing 30 years later. Absolutely not. I wanted to be a social worker, and I feel like I kind of have the best of both worlds right now, because sometimes when you're here working with students, you are kind of a counselor or a social worker to them. You're helping them, you're encouraging them, you're supporting them in ways that they didn't think they needed, and you didn't think they needed either. And what I love most about my job is that I like seeing them day one during orientation, and they're pretty terrified of starting this new chapter of their lives. And now we are 3 weeks out from graduation, and they look different, they talk different, their appearance is different, they come in with a different approach to life and their capabilities, and they're able to assess their strengths and their weaknesses. And so just that growth that you're able to see in your students, and some students are very shy, and some students don't think that this is something that they can do, or education wasn't for them, or going back to school wasn't for them. So making sure that they understand that this is possible, and that I'm here to help support them all the way through as much. If they put it in, if they're here to do the work, I'm here to support them no matter what. So that's the joy of teaching right now in this field.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And I'm sure all the students appreciate the support. So I do apologize. We did go a few minutes, but that was all very, very great information. I'm thrilled that everybody was able to stay and make it for the second breakout. And I hope you've got all of your questions answered. So if there's any uncertainty, hopefully that's all cleared up. There's a lot to explore, a lot to think about and consider. But that'll go ahead and conclude our virtual expo. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, good luck.
Thank you so much for the link. It was really helpful.
You're welcome.